Welcome, everyone, to Prop It Up. It's 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Everyone knows what that means. The weekend has officially started. We're here to kick off your weekend with some props. We're going to go over last night's game. We've got a lot of injuries. We got a lot of news. We got a lot of things to juggle around, but what that means to us is there's a lot of value out there. So joining me every week, as always, Andrew McInnis, mid-major Matt. Gentlemen, we're coming off of Thursday night football. I think us and the rest of the world were on Chase Edmonds over 2.5 receptions. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when Kenyon Drake started catching all the passes to begin with, my blood pressure started going through the roof. Matt, go over some of the action that you had last night.
Yeah, that was mine. Was one. I only had 2 last night, and then I had the over for DeAndre Hopkins receptions, and of course I was frustrated because the holding penalty in the end zone was to DeAndre Hopkins, and then I will piggyback off of Andrew's rant because I know he's got one, because DeAndre Hopkins should have had at least 1 or 2 more catches in that final drive, but of course they went for it all instead of actually going to continue to matriculate down the field, and I'll let Andrew take it away.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. You hate to come on here and bitch about plays losing, but I mean, I had 2 yesterday that you don't want to even use the word bad beat or the expression because it's sometimes just amateur to say that. But I had DK Metcalf over receiving yards. Guy drops more passes in one game than he has in the past 2.5 years of his life. And, I had the Kyler Murray over for passing yards. And like Matt just said, it wasn't even just some of the Hopkins drops. It was the play calling that it was just completely just mind-boggling for me. 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, 4th and 10, and literally pretty much go for the end zone on all 4 tries. As somebody with that prop, and even someone if I would have been holding an Arizona ticket, just get the first down. There's plenty of time to get that first down and then go ahead and see what you can do after that. Obviously, for me, though, that play was sweatier than I expected it to be. And the funny thing is, guys, last week on the show, I was talking about completion props for everybody. That's all I was talking about. So, of course, yesterday I decided to not fade Seattle with the opposing team's quarterback completions. I decided to go this time with the yards. Kyler Murray finishes with 29 completions, comes up short with the yards. So that's how my Thursday went.
I hit the Chase Edmonds. I had Kyler Murray rushing over when I saw the weather. I thought it would set up nice for some short game. And as soon as I saw that shoulder injury and Seattle was absolutely spying him, I thought, he's gonna unleash a couple long ones, but he wasn't gonna take a shot to save his life. So 1-1 night. I know a lot of people were on Seattle. I know a lot of people had the under. So I think a lot of people watching this show right now probably did good. So hey, that's all we can hope for. So, all right, we have a lot to get to this week, and we are going to start with the biggest prop news of the week. We're going to start with the Falcons at the Saints. Biggest storyline is Taysom Hill gets the nod. Sean Payton even went as bold as to say, I don't have any offensive snaps ready for Jameis Winston. A lot to unpack here. Matt, do we overthink this or do we just keep it simple and say the Saints offense is going to be what it normally is? What do you think?
So I think the rushing attempts and rushing yards for Taysom Hill comes into play because I think he's gonna run it a lot. I know they're gonna do a lot of read option and RPO stuff, so therefore I think he's gonna keep it a lot. And then we talked about before the show. I think the receiving yards of Alvin Kamara comes back into play. Last week was the first week in a while I hadn't played, and of course it hit. You had it. And I think if we get a decent number in the mid-50s, I'm going back to it because I can't see Taysom Hill throwing it deep to Michael Thomas.
Yeah, Andrew, what do you make of Taysom Hill, not Jameis?
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked to see that. Even more shocked, like you said, Andy, the fact that everyone's reporting and obviously the coaching staff just saying, hey, look, we don't have Winston a part of any snaps. We don't have him a part of any game plan. And, coming into this game, I expected it to be the typical Saints 2-quarterback offense. I no matter how long it's been going on, guys, I still get amusement out of seeing Breeze run off, Hill come on. You don't really see that in football that often. But I feel like Matt said, we're just going to see a lot of running plays. And, it could be a great opportunity. I know Chance always tunes into our chat here. It'd be a good opportunity to look at maybe the longest pass under here for Taysom Hill. But I'll be honest here. I've got a free play, several, pretty decent write-up on my profile page at Wager Talk talking about how I still liked the Saints -5 when that number dropped. The write-up, of course, included Winston, but I did discuss Hill as well, and I think that I still like the play. This team was 5-0 without Breeze last year. The funny thing is, though, Hill's completed 10 passes in his whole career. It's going to have to be more than that this week.
The stat was he has more tackles than completed passes. So you know what? I'm not going to be scared of the Alvin Kamara props. Taysom is going to be just like Breeze. Like you said, Matt, he's not going to be bombing the ball downfield with precision. So what's left? Tight ends and dump offs. And Kamara is the best in the game right now that McCaffrey isn't going to play. So, Kamara is the best. I'm not scared of this. I will also throw out, don't ignore the Falcons, some of those Falcon props. Falcons winners of 3 out of 4 games. Granted, they were against really bad teams. Matt Ryan completing over 25 passes a game the last 3 on average. So don't ignore those Atlanta Falcons props.
We got to think though, Andy. We can only know what we've seen from him. You know what I mean? Like we only know what the coaching staff and Peyton have actually given him the opportunity to do. I'm not going to be, passing out in my house watching this game if he has a couple good throws. It's not going to shock me. It's going to be just, it's a chance to see what he can do. Matt, you're shaking your head, but obviously they know something that we don't know about him.
No, I'm shaking my head at the comment that's being shown by our host here on the show. He's got a bye week. Leave the guy alone.
I got to give Matt credit for sticking up for Foles hard after the Prez was being typical Prez.
Hey, by the way, also in this game, I also like to do the kicker props. I think Young Hoo Koo also comes into play here. The total was 6.5 yesterday. It's already up to 7.5 in terms of points. And if your book doesn't have the specific kicker, then you can always go to the over 1.5 field goals. I think that the Falcons could certainly kick a bunch of field goals.
I think it's a good point that Matt mentions about looking at one kicker specifically. I think, Matt, you mentioned that to me 2 weeks ago, and I took a look at that. Instead of hoping for the over 3.5, just pinpoint that one kicker. Also, Atlanta's second last for opponent, passing yards per game. Just saying. Just saying. Yeah. What's that number going to be? I don't have a number, guys. Do you have a number for Taysom?
No.
No, it's one of the exciting things and one of the bad things about doing props is they come out like so soon to the game. Yet it's a lot different when you get to analyze the spread or the total in a game because you have a week to do it. But with props, we got to be like Johnny on the spot. So all right, let's get to the Eagles at the Browns. Notes that I have both teams giving up a lot of rushing yards recently. The last 3 games, Philly giving up 148 yards a game, Browns 126.7 yards a game. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, we always talk about this, rushed for over 100 yards last week each. And that Kareem Hunt rushing yards just keeps hitting over and over. Miles Sanders rushed for 85 yards against the Giants. We going to see a lot of rushing in this game, Matt, or are you looking at value elsewhere?
Well, if Doug Peterson's smart, he's going to run the ball because I'm looking at the weather. It's a 80% chance of rain and about 11 to 15 mile an hour wind. So wind's not as bad as they have been. To me, if he's a normal coach, you're looking at Miles Sanders, you're looking at Chubb and Hunt. The stat that I found very interesting regarding my beloved Eagles, 2 stats actually real quick. The Eagles are holding running backs at 3.4 yards per carry. That's really good. They're holding quarterbacks to 7.1 yards per carry, and they're holding wide receivers and tight ends to 9.1 yards per carry. So to me, it is a Jarvis Landry running the ball type of day. It feels like one of those misdirection plays. Also, the Eagles, in all their infinite wisdom, are averaging over 5 yards per run play at 5.12. They are averaging less than 5 yards per pass play at 4.96. Yet the dumbass keeps throwing it a ton. So I actually think the Eagles win this game. I do. I know it's probably my fandom. There's no actual handicapping to this. I think the Eagles win this game, but I also know that Doug Peterson's an idiot, so they probably will not actually do it.
Anytime you bet against the Browns, you're in a good spot, Matt. So, anytime you fade Cleveland. So, Andrew, you got anything with Eagles, Browns? Weather's probably going to be an issue.
Yeah, I ended up on Kareem Hunt over rushing yards last week. Got a little bit worried about it early on, but it really started to pick up. I believe him and Chubb ended up near the same. And I think we talked about it on this show countless times about looking for those second options, right? I think it was a 30-yard differential from the rushing yards from Chubb and from Hunt. Obviously, with Chubb coming off his injury as well, I expected him to get the ball, but obviously seeing a higher number, I looked towards a secondary guy, and that's probably what I'll end up doing again here this weekend. So I'm looking at Kareem Hunt once more, and I think we talked about the weather on this podcast already, but just to throw back to it again, it's something to not think twice about. Like you look at it, you see the bad weather coming, you see the wind, and you look at a team like this with two strong options at the running back position. I won't ignore it. I'm going to go back to Kareem Hunt most likely.
I love me some Kareem Hunt. I really do. I love that guy. Lions at Panthers. A lot of injuries. Christian McCaffrey, he's out again. Teddy Bridgewater is a game time decision. Did you see the news? DeAndre Swift, did they use the term brain injury?
Yes.
Instead of concussion, and they have him listed as questionable?
No, he's out.
Okay, good. I'm glad he's out. So the Panthers, they let Brady throw all over them last week. They've given up 33 and 46 points the last two games. The Lions have given up 27 or more points the last three games. Without the injuries, all signs would point to a lot of overs in these props, but with these injuries, Andrew, what do you think? Is this a stay away because of the injuries, or are you going to find some sneaky value in some of these guys that are going to be replacing some of these superstars?
Yeah, with this one, to be honest, Andy, I don't really have much as far as the player props go, but this actually would be one that I would look at the over 3.5 field goals in from two teams that have been fine in the end zone, have been easily marching the field. I think we could see some stops and we could see several field goals in this one. And I haven't played this too many times here in this season. Entering week 11, I think there's actually a few games that offers, and it's a matchup thing, and especially an injury thing as well. And I think some teams, the later the season goes, might take less chances, not more, but less, and settle for a field goal. So over 3.5 field goals for me.
Matt, real quick, I want to go back. YS baseball, rain and 11 to 15 miles an hour. Mayfield underpassing. You know the Eagles defense better than anybody, probably better than their defensive coordinator. What do you think about Baker Mayfield underpassing? Is that something we should look at?
I actually think, and I did it last week, I had the under for his longest pass. It's actually 36.5 on Pinnacle. I don't know if the other books put that up. His is 36.5. Carson Wentz's is 35.5. I hit it last week. I think once again, if you want to sprinkle a little on his longest pass under, that's probably better than his game under, because the Eagles are going to try and funnel them to passing downs. Who knows? I would say under longest pass would be better than his under passing yards.
Great stuff. Thank you, baseball. Matt, let's get back on track here with the Lions at Panthers. Stay away game for you, or you got something for this?
Well, it's probably going to be Mike Davis. Mike Davis gets 40% of the touches when McCaffrey's not in there. So therefore, I'm looking at him in terms of his receptions plus, his rushing plus receiving yards. And on the Lions side, no Golladay, no Amendola means probably Marvin Jones Jr. Or if you could get some cheap Marvin Hall props. I know Stafford kind of likes Marvin Hall, and you're going to notice, at least for some of these games, I'm going to start talking about the guys that we never actually talk about. And I think Marvin Hall props, depending upon what they are, because there aren't any out right now, is somebody you might want to look at.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm with that as well. I forgot to mention that, Andy, but there's a couple of props for me that are honestly going to be just watch, rinse, repeat, and running backs against Detroit are going to be one of those ones for me. So I don't know how I forgot to mention that. It was literally right in front of me, but I talked about it pretty in depth on last week's show, so I won't be too much of a broken record. But they're ranked 30th. I had Antonio Gibson's last week. It's one of those ones where I think it'll just progress. And I think looking at McCaffrey when he's out, Mike Davis has slotted in perfectly, which is why I think the rant that you had, Andy, on the show is so valid. Why bring this guy back in for 1 week?
There's no reason
when Mike Davis has looked good.
There's no reason to play that guy the rest of the year. There's no upside. He's not going to get to any of his incentives in the contracts. You're just going to put unnecessary wear and tear on the running back. There's no reason. I hope they don't bring him back. So
and I think we're going to get a better number as well. I haven't seen it on Mike Davis, but I don't always buy into the recency bias, but it was 89 rushing yards allowed for Detroit last week for their opponent, but 161 still on average in their last three games. I find that sometimes, not always, but we'll see some recency bias from the books and have a lower number the following week. We could see that here for Mike Davis.
Next game we have Patriots at the Texans. After years and years and years of torment from the Patriots backfield, can we finally settle on Damian Harris to be the running back of choice for the New England Patriots? Can we finally, with confidence, take an over in a New England Patriots running back? Matt, you're already shaking your head.
No, he says.
Sony Michel's supposed to come back this week, I think. I'm pretty sure Sony. I'm just saying, this is Bill. Like, just for your own sanity. This is for your own sanity. The Patriots backfield is off limits. Like I took a James White prop when I the Ravens game. I took a James White prop. I figured it's a James White game. Nope. The only thing I'm considering here is Jacoby Myers. The only guy I'm considering here is Jacoby Myers. He's got 31 targets, 23 receptions the last 3 weeks. And Houston is Houston, and Cam Newton seems to love him. So I'm looking at the over for Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers has been kind of one of those cult guys, kind of behind the scenes that the public doesn't really know, but prop bettors really know him well. Andrew, what do you like about this game?
Yeah, I'm right there with Matt looking at Jacoby Myers. I think it's something I'm not going to ignore anymore. And until the market really catches up to it, I'll look to back it. I think this is a spot here which it's hard to really imagine a back and forth type of shootout style game involving the New England Patriots. But if there was to be one, it could be against this Houston team. It's kind of crazy, guys, to think about. Like, we talk about handicapping teams with star players and a team like the Patriots. Finding props is a little bit more interesting. Look at a guy like Jacoby Myers, and this is a guy that, he's not your Hopkins of the world, but he's someone we could find value on.
I sometimes I find like that's where the best value is. Yeah. Is in the names that the books are not paying that big of attention to. It's kind of like niche sports where we can find the value in the guys that ESPN isn't going to be talking about on Sunday morning countdown. So I love that. I have a little note here. Deshaun Watson, he's rushed for over 36 yards in 3 straight games. I'll be hoping to get a good number on Deshaun Watson rushing yards, and Will Fuller held out of the end zone last week, but before that, 6 straight games with a touchdown. So I might be intrigued by that. Steelers at Jaguars. Insane stat. Last 3 games, Pittsburgh dead last in rushing yards allowed per game with 182.7. James Robinson, 109 yards rushing last week against the Packers. James Conner has rushed for under 50 yards in 3 straight games. I think that, Matt, is that just because the Steelers receiving core is just so good and Ben can stand back there and just pick apart defenses, or something wrong with Connors? What's going on with the running game?
I just think their run game's not working out right now. This feels like one of those games where they should commit to the run, and they probably won't. This feels like one of those Mike Tomlin specials where the team is very lackluster. Maybe they win it late. This actually, of all of them, is probably a stay-away game for me. I don't know if there's an angle I could find in this one other than maybe Big Ben touchdown passes, but that's going to be heavily juiced to the over. So I probably will skip this game altogether.
Andrew, you like anything in this?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what I said last week. And this is actually, I did a free play video on Wager Talk. It was a losing play. Nothing wrong with that, with shouting that out. But I had Joe Burrow's pass completions over against the Steelers. And I also had, is it Luton or Luton? I've heard different things.
I think it's Luton.
Luton, yeah. So I also had his over for completions, okay? And this is the thing. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're actually a great team defending the pass as well for completion statistically. But this is the interesting thing. Both of those games that I had, where it's Jacksonville against the Green Bay Packers, very, very surprisingly close game, at least not nearly what the spread dictated. Then the Cincinnati Bengals game against the Steelers, closer game, at least at points, than the spread would have dictated. And I think that completely changes the mindset, changes the flow of the game. But in this one here, I don't care what Pittsburgh's stats are against the completions for the opposition. I'm going back to it. Andy, I think you might have been on the same prop as me.
I did.
I don't know what number you got. I got 19.5.
Same as me.
For a completion prop for a team like Jacksonville that's expected to be down, a team like the Steelers right now that is really riding this high of a potential sweep of a season, or at least to continue to roll, I can see this cashing in. To be honest with you, I've had the most fortune cashing these completion props when it's been a bigger point spread versus a tight game. I've just had better luck cashing it with really wide point spreads and supposed blowout games. And this is kind of one that we can circle, and some of these closer games I'm seeing more running. But in this one here, we're going to go with the over for passing completions. And I would probably double up with the attempts as well, because they're going to have to throw the ball. This could be one of those ones where you could at worst get a 1-1, because even if he has a horrible game throwing, they're going to have to throw the ball. It's happened to me before.
Yeah. M-Rob, thanks for joining us. Lets me know Watson 25.5 right now for rushing yards. So I will happily be taking that. He also says Connor right now is 71.5. Man, that sounds like a lot for a running game. And then I mean, it's the winner so far. Steve S says a Lutton for punishment. I mean, you did Steve. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that, man. Thank you very much. So next
I'd love
game,
to see a horrible game from him and the completion still cash, Andy. He could literally have the worst completion percentage ever and
absolutely
still end up with 20 completions.
Absolutely.
Sign me up.
I'm not gonna go away from that as well. So, all right, a little business to take care of. We have a huge promo code BF999. This is Wager Talks Black Friday. You get $1,000 off a year's access to that is really big. Andrew, you can pick one of your sports, and the profits from that will make up for those sales and then some. And then you got all your other sports. Matt, same as you. You get a year access of Matt Sports with $1,000 off. That's going to pay for itself. Same as me. My NASCAR plays alone will pay for that. So Black Friday, use the promo code BF999 to get a year's access. That's going to only be available for 7 days. So don't dilly-dally around on that one. So, Andrew, that's pretty crazy, right? What is Johnny wearing a Santa hat?
I think the fact that we want to understand, we really want them to understand, is that it's not a sales tactic on our part. It's for us trying to get people for the longer term. We love longer term customers. We want people to ride with us. If you got someone for 3 days or for 7 days, you're getting a very small sample. You could have 5 weeks of NFL action and win 4 of those. And if you got one guy that bought the losing week, he thinks you're a losing handicapper. I'd rather have somebody on there for a year and get every single thing, especially the niche sports as well. I do World Junior Hockey, international hockey at Christmas time. Anybody that's just, buying picks daily at the website, they're not getting that. That's only for the all access guys mainly. So just little things like that. Then NBA comes around the corner, NHL, CFL as well. It's just great to get on with somebody for longer term. I truly, truly believe that. I think a lot of the guys agree with that. How many times on our baseball show, Matt, did we hear Teddy say, "Don't buy my plays"? He always said that, Andy. Don't buy my plays. Buy a package. That's what he would say.
I'm just going to say right now, I'm going to use this promo code just so I get your World Junior Hockey plays, because I'm going to say I made money off of that.
It's just like the NASCAR market. It's beatable, man.
It's not only is it beatable, it's dominatable. I don't even know if that's a word, but yeah. So you can get all those plays for BF999. So all right, let's move on.
Matt, are you dominantly college or what?
Me, I'm yeah. I mean, I do college football, college basketball. I may learn the NBA. I may learn the NBA props, stuff like that.
You should. You absolutely should join the NBA props club. It's profitable, Matt. You're so good at this. You absolutely should do it, man. I hope you do.
I will see. I gotta, maybe I'll just do Sixers props and based off of Ben Simmons and all that stuff and isolate the team I actually know.
No, it's
just full-time 76ers prop handicapper.
There you go.
Listen, I'm telling you, a few years ago, I had a great read on my Indiana Pacers, and I was at 75%. I didn't bet on any other team. I just knew exactly, and I isolated their first half over and unders. And hitting 75%. And I really, truly believe that hometown fans know their teams better than most national people. Matt, you could probably dominate just doing Sixers props. I think you should. And if you do, I will be your first subscriber. I guarantee it. Just for the Twitter rants.
You don't need to use the promo code. I'll tell you what they are. That's fine. I don't need your blood sample or anything that comes with this deal as well.
Okay. Let's get to, I think this is the sneaky, interesting game of the week. I'm really, really excited to watch this. The Packers at the Colts. The Packers' 2 losses this year have been when the Bucs and Ronald Jones ran for 113 yards and when the Vikings and Dalvin Cook ran for 163 yards. The Colts are the number 2 passing defense in the league. So, Matt, I'll start with you. How do you attack this Packers at Colts game?
This might be pretty close to a pass for me. Because look, you want to go with the running backs against the Packers, but we don't know which one. I mean, I think I might attack Nyheim Hines potentially here. I'm also looking, I see Rodrigo Blankenship, the kicker, 6.5 points. I think that the Packers defense is one of those bend but don't break type defenses. So to me, I could look there. And then on the other side, look, I think Rodgers has a little bit of trouble in this game. I think that the Colts defense is built to beat a team like the Packers. So to me, I think I'm looking at Nyheim Hines and Rodrigo Blankenship as the only 2 guys I'm kind of isolating in this matchup.
Andrew, what do you think? Because I got some strong opinions about this game.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say because I've said it before on the show. I actually am one of those guys, especially with even the Raptors or Montreal Canadiens or the Green Bay Packers. For me, I have a little bit of a different read as far as, thoughts go on the games. And when it's a close game like this, I don't really know where to go. I'm cheering on as a fan. What I really want to do is look at passing touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. I've passed that up too many times. And you can get some great plus money value with that. And as much as I think everybody's going to look at the stats for the Colts against the pass defense, I think it really just helps the value. Sometimes when you're betting against a spot where it's, hey, this is a number 1 defense against this or a number 1 defense against the rush or whatever, it gives you value on the prop. So I might be looking at, hey, you don't think Rodgers is going to have a good week? I'll bet it.
I am going to be betting on the running game of the Packers to be not very good. This Colts team wants to slow things down, and they like to muddy up the line of scrimmage. And when they muddy up the line of scrimmage, Aaron Rodgers gets frisky, he gets finicky, he panics, he audibles out of run plays into pass plays that he shouldn't, and you're going to see a lot of dump offs to running backs. And this is a game that the Colts can absolutely frustrate that offense. And when the Packers get frustrated, they depend on Rodgers flinging the ball around, and they abandon a well thought out gameplay. I'm going to be fading the running backs. The kryptonite to this is if they get out to an early lead, which I don't think they will. I see a really, really slow, muddied up game where the Colts take 35 seconds off of the game clock. I do like Nyheim Hines in this game. I think he actually has cemented himself as this job. They do not trust Taylor. He cannot stop fumbling the ball. He cannot find the right holes. I don't know what happened to his burst of speed. He must have left it back in college. But he's been average at best. And I love Darius Leonard messing up the line of scrimmage for the Packers. So I'm going to be fading the Packers run game. I think this is a horrible matchup. I think it's the recipe on how to beat the Packers and beat them pretty handily. So I'm not betting on the Colts to win, but I am betting on the Colts to disrupt the running game and make Rodgers fling it around to guys that he really doesn't want to.
I agree exactly with that, Andy. That's kind of what I was saying about Rodgers passing yards, like going right up against it. I don't think that they'll be successful in that way. And the only way that it will be successful, like you said, is if they go up. And unfortunately, I think it'll be a pretty close game.
Yeah. All right. Bengals at the football team. The football team, by far the best passing defense in the league. But they give up over 125 yards a game rushing. Since he gives up 133 yards a game rushing, but they've been a little bit better recently. I will throw this one out. I'm on the fence about this one. It's a random prop. The football team has only scored over 10 points in the first half one time. That was against the Cowboys, who give up first half points like Oprah does. So Cincinnati. Sorry, Andrew. So now, unfortunately, Cincinnati gives up a lot of first half points, but interesting matchup here because you got Joe Burrow that's been pretty good, but he's going up against a really good passing defense. Matt, I'll start with you. What do you like about the football team? What do you like about the Bengals?
Well, almost all my stuff on this one is going to be Washington football related. J.D. McKissic, 29 targets the last 2 weeks. He's had 16 receptions. They figured to be either behind or trying to keep up with the Bengals. So to me, McKissic's receptions come into play. Also, Washington has fallen behind by 10 or more points before halftime in 8 of 9 games. So your first half Bengals point total bet comes into play here. And then my new favorite thing is, and Christian just mentioned it in the chat, Alex Smith under 5.5 rushing yards. You know, it's funny because I must have checked into that game late last week, so I missed the 5-yard run he had on like the second play of the game. But then he didn't do much of anything the rest of the time. And I just don't think Alex Smith is running it very much. And underrated here, if they're winning and he has to do kneel downs at the end, that's crucial yards that get shaved off. So the best part of that bet is, though, shop around, because last week there was a 6.5, there was an 8.5, and so every yard for something like that counts.
Wow.
So shop around and take the under for Alex Smith's rushing yards. I just don't think he's going to do it very much.
8.5 was out there. Wow.
Yeah, well, I think you understand. I think you know which book that's seemingly more friendly on that sort of thing had that kind of number. 6.5 was more widely available, but 8.5 was the one in that special book that always has friendly numbers.
Andrew, what do you like about the Bengals and the football team?
I think that the Washington football team are one of those sneaky teams that, it seems like it's always a bad defense with a good offense, or a good offense with a bad defense. And look at this Washington football team. I mean, they're 30th for rushing yards per game. All right, 91 on average, 113 last 3. But then we take a look at opponent completions per game. They're second, just right after the New England Patriots with 19. This is one of those ones here where the exact same thing that I said with the Green Bay game. Although we're seeing this prop here, although we're seeing this team is second against the completions, I'm going right back to Joe Burrow, because I think this actually will be one of those games where Giovanni Bernard's not going to be involved as much as they would have liked to be. And the Washington football team could shock a lot of people. I think that Alex Smith is actually going to be pissed off, upset, going out there on a mission. It's easier to say that than actually go out there and do it. But I said I've been having more success with the blowouts, with the completion props. But in this one, I think it benefits with Joe Burrow. That's going to be a good game, and they'll both be going back and forth. So I think I'll go back to Joe Burrow's prop, and we'll get a pretty good number here on it, seeing as Washington is number 2 against the completions.
All right, the next game. This is our prop we were going to discuss. We got the Titans at the Ravens, rematch from the playoffs. So it was my turn to give out the prop for all of us to dissect and discuss. I noticed that Lamar Jackson and Ryan Tannehill completions are both 18.5. So are both going to go over? Are both going to go under? You got 1 and 1. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. What did you find this week on Lamar Jackson and Ryan Tannehill with the completions at 18.5?
Yeah, I mean, I've been touching on these for the past couple of weeks, and that's a lot of the props that I've really been discussing and hoping over a large scale to have some success with this. But, the Tennessee Titans, they fall into that category with worse teams allowing passing yards per game and worse for completions per game, ranking 31st in the league. And a lot of those numbers that we've seen haven't been 18.5 for the opposition. It's because we're seeing Lamar Jackson. That number is even as low as it is. Look at this Tennessee team on the season per average, 27 completions for the opposition quarterback per game. Last 3 games, the opposition is getting 30 completions per game against this Tennessee Titans team. So I'm going to go ahead with the over for Lamar Jackson. I'm not touching the Ryan Tannehill game prop, because to me that all just depends on how the game flow is and the score. But I still believe Lamar Jackson, although that we know what he can do on his feet, we know that he can do the running backs can do. But I think that more and more we're seeing the hate of Lamar Jackson. I know fantasy owners are pissed with their Lamar Jackson picks this year, but that's still low at 18.5. He still does have some talented receivers, but this is just as much of a bet on for Lamar Jackson as it is a fade for this Tennessee defense.
Matt, what'd you make of this prop?
I think this is a Derrick Henry game. So, and you kind of have to go somewhat back to last year's game. And you remember because remember, this is a revenge type situation here in this, because obviously the Titans went into Baltimore and won last year in the playoffs. And if you look at how that game kind of went, I think the problem was anytime you get Lamar Jackson throwing it 59 times, you're not going to win. So they were chasing points and they were down early. And then Tannehill in that game threw it 14 times. I'm not thinking that he's going to throw it 14 times once again, but I definitely like the under for Tannehill. I like the over for Derrick Henry rushing. I think Brandon Williams and Calais Campbell are both doubtful. That's two of the best run stoppers on this Baltimore defense. And I think that the less that you have Tannehill throwing the ball, the better. If you look the last 2 weeks, he's gone up against Chicago and Indy at home, and he's only 25 of 48. So to me, the Tannehill one's the easier under. Jackson's a little harder for me. I know he completed 24 times last week against New England, but then you look 19, 13, 16, 19, 14, 15, 18. I'm not going to play the Jackson one, but I think I lean both on the under. I think this is a running game. That's why I think the game under is in play. I think this is more running between both of these teams.
I you know what? I like going last. I have both going over. Like Andrew said, the way to attack the defense of the Titans is to throw. Rivers completed 29 passes. Your boy Foles completed 36 passes. Burrow 26 passes. Only one quarterback has completed less than 18.5 passes against the Titans. That was Kirk Cousins. The Ravens, there's really nothing definitive about the Ravens giving up passing because it's all over the board. I'm going the other way on the Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry rushed 30 times for 195 yards in the playoffs against the Ravens. There's no stat to back this up, but the Ravens D, I think that is in the back of their mind, and I think they have pride. I think they're saying we are not going to let that happen again, and I think Mike Vrabel knows it, and I think he lets – I wouldn't be surprised – I'm going to shock you. I wouldn't be surprised if Tannehill throws it 35 times. I think the Ravens stack the box, and as soon as Vrabel and Tannehill see that, I think they go, you know what, Derrick Henry, you're going to rush the ball 13 times, and Tannehill's going to light it up. I see big games for Jonnu Smith and A.J. Brown. There's my –
Andy, would you say that in order for our Lamar Jackson prop to look good, we want Tennessee to look good out the gate? Like, we want them to play well, right?
I don't see a team running away with this. I think it's going to be close, but I see Lamar's hearing the criticism. The Ravens are hearing the criticism about how bad Lamar is at passing. And then I think the Ravens are just going to do anything. They're going to go, Derrick Henry, you are not going to run wild on us. And besides the Packers and Colts, this is obviously the other big game. So good stuff. I love this when we're kind of all over the board on this. So we can revisit this one next week. All right. What's next? Cowboys. How about them Cowboys at the Vikings? The last two games, the Cowboys have held their opponent under the first half team total. In all of Minnesota's wins, Dalvin Cook has rushed for over 22 carries. Are we looking at Dalvin Cook again? Mid-major Matt, going to you first.
I guess. I think the problem's going to be that his number is going to get too high. I just think that what the problem is that, the books see what Dalvin Cook has done and they've seen what he's been doing and they're going to overrate it and they see what Dallas's defense is. So I think the number is going to be too high. I actually think I like, Ezekiel Elliott's numbers. It's 58.5 rushing yards. I know that Dallas's offensive line is banged up, but I think they're going to be pretty close to healthy. I think there's only going to be one or two guys that are out. I like the over potentially for Ezekiel Elliott. I also think Dallas can win this game. I think that the line is nuts. So I might be buying more into the Dallas side of these props than the Minnesota side.
Interesting. Yeah, love that angle. Andrew, what do you think about this one?
Well, as far as a prop on a receiver goes, I'm looking at Justin Jefferson over for his receiving yards. I think it could be one where you could look at receptions as well, but he's a guy that's I don't have the number in front of me, but I think, he's the kind of guy you can rely on for yards after catch. He's not someone that's just getting the checkdowns. He's one that's reliable downfield, someone that's catching the ball and going with it. And he's right there behind Adam Thielen, and those receivers are getting it done. And Kirk Cousins is, at least he looked pretty good in their last game. I don't remember who they played, Matt. But anyway, I guess you're not really a Bears fan.
I'm not a Bears fan. Yeah, I'm not a Bears fan. What the hell do I care if they lose? Good Lord.
But no, that's where I'd look. But I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go right back with the completions here with the team that I know Matt said they think they can win, but I still think that Dallas quarterback completions over is going to be one of those other wash, rinse, repeats for me. And I don't even care who's at quarterback, but Dalton should be able to get this.
Yeah. Next game, the Kansas City Chiefs at my Las Vegas Raiders. I have the under 0.5 victory laps in the team bus around the stadium this week, which has been one of the funniest stories this week about how the Raiders, when they beat the Chiefs, made the team bus drive around the stadium for victory lap because John Gruden said the bus driver had a snide comment. You got to admit, Matt, when the Raiders do stuff like this, it makes the league interesting, right? I mean, you got to at least give the Raiders that.
I guess. I think it's just going to piss off the wrong team. I think.
That's another thing.
I mean,
do that too.
I don't think they could set the Mahomes touchdown passing number any higher than. I mean, I think 2.5, 3, 3.5. I think he gets 5. I think he throws her. I think this is the Chiefs everything. I think. Plus, Andy Reid off a bye week. He's had 2 weeks to see how awful the Raiders are. And by the way, the Raiders defense essentially has not practiced. So to me, I'm looking at the over for Mahomes yards, everything. I think everybody, even Sammy Watkins, if he's healthy, may get involved this week.
Andrew,
yeah, this is a week where I'm feeling pretty good having Travis Kelce as one of my best fantasy guys. Hoping that he has an absolute field day. I think that there's been so much built up from the hype. Obviously, I love the way you kind of segued this topic, Andy, but not just that, but we've seen it on wager talk shows. We've seen it on different radio shows, everyone talking about the revenge factor. Let's be honest, though. The Raiders had a good game. They played well. They executed their game plan last time out against KC, but it also wasn't KC's best. And I'm right there with Matt. Some might call it a play that seems a little bit too easy, but I think the passing touchdowns for Mahomes is definitely a look there. And I might even look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire to get a touchdown, just because I do feel like I'd look at a few guys. Matt has discussed it with me about the prices we see on these touchdowns, and I've cashed a few with Hill or Kelsey, but you're going to get a good price with Clyde Edwards. So I'd look at him to get a touchdown, find the end zone, but this is going to be an absolute, shellacking. If you like teasers, they have to be in a teaser you're making this week, I think.
I will point out, and you touched on it, Andrew, I'm not scared of the Clyde Edwards-Helaire props. Le'Veon Bell in the last 2 games has 15 yards rushing total. I'm sorry, he sucks. Like he doesn't have the burst. I still don't understand the signing. I didn't when they did it, when they did it, I didn't understand it, but this notion of that he's going to take away touches or yards from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 15 yards in 2 games isn't going to get it done. I will point out the Raiders, they scored over 30 points 2 games in a row. And if you're looking at the other side, this is interesting. The last 3 wins that the Raiders have, David Carr has not completed more than 16 completions in any of those games. They've been a running team. In the 3 losses that they've had, he's thrown for over 24 completions in those games. So you're seeing a pretty obvious trend there that when the Raiders win, they're running the ball and Carr is not throwing. When they're behind, Carr's got to, air the ball out. So if you think the Chiefs are going to win, which I think everyone does, you might find a sneaky little bit of value in Carr on the completions or attempts prop. So don't ignore those. Dolphins at Broncos. I sent this out on Twitter. Dolphins in the last 3 games, they're averaging 11.7 points in the first quarter. The last 2 games, the Broncos have given up 7 or more points. So we got Drew Lock. He's hurt. Last week, Salvon Ahmed was breakout with 21 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. A lot of injuries, a lot of craziness. I don't know, Matt. Is a stay away game just because of a lot of the unknowns?
I gave this out on Wager Talk today, and I'm eager to see what the number is when it comes out. I'm taking the over for the longest field goal. It's Denver, and you've got 2 field goal kickers. I'll pull up the stats. Jason Sanders is 12 of 13 from 40 plus. His long is 56. Brandon McManus is 13 of 14 from 40 plus. His long is 56. He's hit some 52 yarders. I think the number will be 46 and a half, 47. I'll be looking at the longest field goal over in the Miami-Denver game. Broncos allowing an average of 2.4 field goals per game.
Wow, that's a great one. Wow. That is such a great stat, man. Andrew, beat that.
Yeah, good luck to me with that one. I like the field goal props. So, I mean, he's talking about kicker. I like the field goal props. This one over 3.5. This is one of those other ones that I was liking. Like I mentioned, there was another one that I liked here. This is going to be another. This isn't really receiving or anything like that, but potentially a defensive touchdown. Something I was looking at for Miami in this one, and they've been able to do it. They've been getting a lot of turnovers. That's kind of been really sneaky, something that's actually been like stemming a lot of their offense. And it wouldn't shock me at the value we get from that. I think it's usually like plus like 400, plus 350. Some shops plus 500. We saw it in that breakdown we had in the Giants game that Matt picked before. And I think easily. That's good value on a team like the Miami Dolphins right now. So I'd look at that. But my pick on this game I had written down was the over field goals, over 3.5.
Nice.
I don't like watching Denver games, man. I don't like watching Denver games for a reason. Sorry for any Denver fans out
there. Jets at Chargers. Justin Herbert, worst haircut of the season. And anyone see Herbert's haircut on social media?
The crew cut.
He went from looking like a 30-year-old to a 13-year-old. One of the most bizarre haircuts. The Jets, gosh, they seem to get on track. Do I say, Matt? Anything you like for the Jets, for the Chargers? I know. Go ahead.
No. I like. The funny thing is, I actually like the Jets in this game plus the points. I don't think the Chargers should be laying this many points.
I'm with you on this. Absolutely.
All that said, I also think that the Justin Herbert touchdown prop. I mean, the Jets. Oh, I have the list here. The Jets cornerbacks for this game will be the following: Lamar Jackson, not that guy; Bennett Jackson, Blesson, Austin, Bryce Hall, Javelin, Guidry. I think Justin Herbert gets 3 touchdown passes. The other thing is, and I just looked it up and it's there. Oh, it's so beautiful. The under for Chris Herndon. Chris Herndon's the tight end for the Jets. Okay. I'm pulling it up now, but the last couple of weeks, he's had no targets. And they actually made his prop 15 and a half yards, like on Monday night. And I'm pulling it up here. So the last 5 games, Chris Herndon has 5 targets and 3 catches for 27 yards. That includes 3 games where he had no targets and no receptions, no nothing. I'm looking at 1.5 receptions, 17.5 yards, longest reception, 11.5. I may go under on all of them. Chris Herndon's a really good blocker, but they've got other tight ends. So Chris Herndon is a guy that I enjoy fading, and they're giving me the opportunity to do it once again.
I would point out that Chris Herndon was like every year there's a couple of like sneaky like fantasy football podcast and like guys are like, oh, you know, my deep sleeper is this guy. And I swear to God, Chris Herndon was the guy that everyone was like, late round pick, Chris Herndon. And I like to myself, I was like, are you effing kidding me? Really? The tight end for the Jets. So that's great stuff on Chris Herndon. Anytime I can fade a Jet tight end, I'm all in. Andrew, what do you think about this one?
I think a lot of people like to look at a trend and what's hot and what's going on. But a lot of times for me, I like to look at a bounce back spot. On the Roto Wire page for Justin Herbert, the headline is less than stellar Herbert in loss. I mean, it's one of those things where go ahead, bash the guy all you want. And I'm going to go ahead and ride his completions. Go ahead and bash what all you want to do. He's playing the Jets. They rank 29th in, passing yards allowed per game, and they rank 29th in completions allowed per game. I'm going to go right back to it. This Jets team could cover the point spread. But there's no doubt in my mind this will be a very pass-heavy game for Justin Herbert. And I don't think this guy lacks confidence. We've seen it since the second that he came in. If I do believe, I can't remember exactly, guys, but he might not have even known he was starting, right? Or getting into the game, I think, when he did come in. And I think this guy has really shown confidence since the second he's been in there. And coming off a game where it was 20 of 32 for 187 yards, still 2 touchdowns. Look, this is going to be a great game for Justin Herbert. I'm all over his props, but I'm still with you guys. I think the Jets could cover this game.
Yeah. And you know what, Andrew, sometimes you want kind of a little bit of negative publicity towards somebody if their prop is hitting. Like it drives down it drives the value up in your favor. So, all right. I think that's all the games. Andrew, what do you got going on this week?
We didn't do the Monday night game.
What's the Monday night game? I missed that one.
The Bucs and the Rams?
Oh, the Bucs and the Rams. Yeah. All right. So Brady had a field day last week, but the problem is you don't really know who he's throwing to. I've been enjoying Mike Evans and some of these under props. Scotty Miller's kind of been a disaster. So what do you? Yeah. And then the Rams running game. Good luck figuring that one out. I mean, that's a jigsaw puzzle that even McVay doesn't know what's going on. So Andrew, start with you. Buccaneers, Rams. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I had a loss with the Leonard Fournette over receiving yards. It didn't even get close. I think I had 30 for the yards, and he got like 11 on two catches. I'm having trouble figuring out everything with this team. I think that Tampa Bay is a team to avoid props unless you're taking the under because they're so diverse, they're so spread out. They have a pretty big selection, which is good. But I've also, from a handicapping and point spread aspect, I've noticed that it's actually been kind of a struggle for Tom Brady. He has so many mouths to feed, So I look at unders for receivers. Look at a guy like Mike Evans. I look at his under for receiving yards because even though he is that guy that could have that one big long catch, he's more someone that I would rather take to score a touchdown in the game than to get any props as far as receiving or yards because that's where he's really getting the ball in the end zone. But the play I'd have is a play that I've been following, haven't executed on it too much. But this week I might look at it against the Rams, and it's Tom Brady completions under. This team actually, shockingly, it's a little bit up and down, but doesn't throw the ball as much as you might think. And I think that we might see a Ronald Jones and a Fournette type game here.
Well, and Matt, we have a pretty big injury on the Rams offensive line, and Jared Goff seems to be easily rattled at times. But at the same time, the Buccaneers, they're great at stuffing the run. So what do you think, Matt? What do you like in this game?
So I like the over 0.5 point for the Rams in the first quarter. The Buccaneers are allowing 6.6 points on average in the first quarter. The last 5 weeks, they've given up 14 to Carolina, 14 to the Saints, 7 to the Giants, 7 to the Raiders, 10 to the Packers. And if you're going to say to me, Matt, who do you want to write the script for an opener? Sean McVay is probably one of those guys because he masks how awful Jared Goff actually is. I just think that the Rams could score early on. I think the other thing to look at here is Mike Evans gets frustrated by guys like Marshawn Lattimore. So if he's got Jalen Ramsey following him all over the place, I agree with Andrew on that one. And then, it's tough because this backfield, like Cam Akers is starting to do a little bit more for the Rams, but can you trust him and do you just like run away from them like the Patriots?
Yeah, there's so many guys in this game that you don't want to trust.
I gotta ask you guys, how do you feel about sacks in this game? I know Brady's been known to be good at throwing the ball away, but in Rams games, it's been a pretty good bet. How do you feel about a sack prop here?
I honestly don't pay attention to a whole lot of sacks, but I will tell you with a big injury on the Rams offensive line, I would look at sacks for the Buccaneers to get there. I wouldn't look at too many sacks for Brady. I think Brady gets rid of the ball a lot, and it's prime time. So Matt, what would you set the over under at Aaron Donald stories and video montages that the crew talks about? I don't know, 17.5. So I think they're gonna do whatever they can to protect Brady from Aaron Donald. I actually don't see a lot of sacks in this one.
I heard this morning on ESPN Radio, Jerome Boger, who is the official for this game, his crew has thrown like the fourth or fifth least amount of holding flags, and they've thrown the most roughing the passer flags. I don't know what you do with that necessarily. Wow. If they don't call a lot of holding, I'm guessing the sacks prop comes into play. But then, of course, if you hit Brady wrong or if you breathe on him, then it's a penalty. So who knows?
Yes.
Find the penalty prop for this game, eh, Matt?
Is there penalty props? That'd be amazing.
There probably is.
Oh,
there's props on everything. Of course there is.
Oh, it's funny.
By the way, every one of those under and punts cashed last week that I mentioned. Just saying.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Under and punts.
I bet two of them. You bet under and punts in Seahawks games and Bills games. Merry Christmas to all your family. That's all I'm going to say.
So good. So good. Oh, there we go. Rob, they need to deflate the line for Brady. Yeah, there it is. So, all right. Matt, what do you got going on this week? I mean, college football is in complete disarray, isn't it?
College football just had another game banged. It was the Stanford-Washington State game. So we are well past. I don't know if we did on the show or off the show where we set the number on canceled games for this week. It's going to sail well over because it's got to be approaching 20. I have my team total up for tonight in the game between Air Force and New Mexico. And I've got a smaller promo code I just want to say real quick. If you use the promo code MATT, MATT30, which for some reason Prez says the second T is redundant.
MATT30?
MATT30. Yes, you get 30 days of my college football for $99. I'm number 2 on Sports Memo in college football, and I'm cashing 59% of my tickets, and I'm doing well. So, Matt, MATT30 is the promo code on sportsmemo.com if you want 30 days of college football.
Cool, Andrew. What do you got going for you,
man?
Yeah.
For me, I've got 2 UFC plays tomorrow. Don't forget to check out Andy on his UFC live. Hope I'll be back on that sometime soon. And I also have English Premier Soccer going on tomorrow as well. Then, of course, my NFL prop package. And I just want to stress, because Andy and Matt both mentioned this before, but for any customers out there that are curious about our packages, those get updated, right, as the weekend goes on. So for all of you out there that are ever getting worried, why do I only see 1? Why do I only see 2? They get updated as we make our plays, also as those get released. So, I'm handicapping here during the week and looking at these matchups and creating potential numbers. But we have to wait until those odds and numbers are actually released. So I just want to say, for anybody that bought a package of mine or anything like that, don't stress. You're going to see it there Saturday evening. You're going to see it there Sunday morning when you wake up. Or at least a few hours before game time. And the coupon code for me that I have is 15 off, 15, and then the word off for $15 off any of my packages right now.
And by the way, real quick on this thing, and this is for everybody, and this is also for basketball, college basketball coming up too. You're relatively nuts if you bet something early in college football, in college sports, or the pros right now. Because if you bet on, let's say you guys wanted to take that Saints line on Monday, and you were saying, oh, it's going to be Jameis, and now it's Taysom Hill, it's a different handicap. You got COVID coming in. They just said Minnesota tonight has 20 guys with COVID that's going to miss the game tonight. So, I understand some people might get frustrated that we don't put up our packages early, but there's literally no reason nowadays to bet anything early. And that's going to be the same case for college basketball, because that's even fewer people. You can withstand, a couple people in football getting COVID, but in basketball, 1 or 2 guys changes a whole difference. So bear with all of us on all these sports. You may get stuff the game day, but it's well worth it for you guys because the information is what we're looking for.
And guess where they're doing March Madness?
Your town.
15 miles away from where I live.
And will you be able to be in attendance?
I'm not going to be anywhere near it. I will be watching on that TV that is right over there in my office. So,
you're going to be hosting a team, right? They're going to be staying at your place. You're going to charge a bed and breakfast.
Right, yeah. They can stay in the guest bathroom.
A 16 seat is going to be in your place.
Oh God, good stuff. Yeah,
Johnny Outlaw said about hockey starting in the 1st of January. I think that's going to happen. I'll have some future stuff going on soon at the website as far as free plays go. Also, he said, "Are you picking up the number of NCAA plays yet?" What does that mean? I don't understand that question.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either. Just check in with us. But again, Matt, like you said, well, I'll be honest. I got burned on the Clemson Notre Dame game. I thought I beat the line when I bet on Clemson, and then Trevor Lawrence isn't playing, and so I learned my lesson like the hard way. You just can't. This is the year where it's tough to try and actually beat the line. So that may be your best advice ever. Like,
I have the Saints -5 as a free play. Everything Matt just said applies to me, and it's completely okay with me because I wanted to have a free play. Well, I mean, getting the bad number isn't okay with me, but Matt saying that stuff doesn't hurt my feelings because I always stress the exact same thing. I just wanted to have a free play out earlier in the week. But it just goes to show I'll use myself as an example gladly. With the -5, but I will also say I still think the Saints could cover. But I'm getting I have a way worse number now, and so do the guys that followed me early in the week.
Well, and I wasn't saying it for you. I'm just saying there's way too much that comes out, and heck, it's Saturday morning. I mean, look, I'll say this here. I like Pitt tomorrow against Virginia Tech, but I can't play it because there's COVID rumors about players and certain things. So to me, if I lose a sale or if I lose a bad number, oh, well, you can, as Ralph always says, it's better to leave off a win than to play a loss and actually lose the units and things like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, we are wrapping up here. I will pump myself. We're doing Takedown Live. My boy Chance is joining me on Takedown Live on Saturday. We're going to be doing live UFC betting. Andrew, you should totally join us. If you're free Saturday, you should totally come in and join us off of your last performance, that epic run. I have, golf is over in a week. So, but I'm looking forward to NBA props. I am absolutely gearing up and already studying for NBA props. I got a lot of strategies that I like. So that's Mid-Major Matt. He's on Sports Memo. That is Andrew McInnis. Don't forget to get his junior hockey plays when they come out.
It's prop. I can't tell if you're messing with me. It's okay, but it's prop.
No. I'm buying your plays. Like,
no, you're not.
No, I am. I buy people. I have subscriptions to people on this website. Like, what's the old hair thing? Like, I'm not only the founder. I'm a customer. No, I do that. I practice what I preach. If I tell people to buy my picks, I'm buying other people's picks, and I'm totally buying your junior hockey stuff. The money all spends the same. So, if you're profitable, you're profitable. So, all right, great stuff. Another great week of prop betting. You can get all of our preps. Me and Andrew are on Wager Talk. Matt is on Sports Memo. Hope everyone makes a lot of money this weekend. We'll see you next weekend on Prop It Up. Have a good weekend.
See you guys.